How many of you have brothers and sisters? I have 3 sisters and 1 brother. How many does that make? And me? So how many? 5. I'm going to tell you about a different kind of a family. How many of you seen parrots? The ones that are green and that are big. How many of you seen parrots? I'm going to tell you a story about Bittu. Bittu lived in India. And years ago, this little girl learned to love birds. And she would get up early in the morning, and she would dress herself, and she would go to this house that was behind her house. And she would go in and sit quietly. And Natto would be making chapatis. And she'd making chai. And Bittu would say, Mama, chai chahiye. What does that mean in English? I want tea. And so Natto would pour some tea into a little cup, and Bittu would drink it. Then he'd say, Mama, chapati mere ko de do. What does that mean? I want some bread. Chapati, right? And I was so fascinated because birds are not supposed to be able to speak. They just go, wah, wah. They don't say, Mama, chai little potato, chapati little potato. And I would watch this bird, and she would take him out of the cage, and he would sit on her arm. Bittu and I would have great conversations. Sometimes the tea was cold, and she'd go, Mama, chai thanda ho gaya? Mama, chai thanda ho gaya? And so Natto would go and warm the chai and give it back. And then she'd say, is it okay, Bittu? Bittu would say, theek hai. I also have a story of the only English word that Bittu knew how to say. And Bittu could only say hello. But Bittu didn't like to speak in English. And so this little girl, probably one of your ages, would take a stick. I don't recommend that. And she would go and she'd poke. And she'd say, Bittu, say hello. And Bittu would just look at her. Then she'd say, Bittu, say hello. And finally he'd go, hello, 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 hello. That's the only way I could get him to say hello to me. Now I'm going to tell you a story about another bird. Have you ever heard of a cockatoo? It's a big, big white parrot. Very big. This parrot is named Baby Girl. And it belongs to Nancy, Auntie Nancy. Auntie Nancy, every morning, will go and uncover her and take her into the kitchen. She put her on the perch, and Baby Girl watches Auntie Nancy cook. And if she sees something that she likes, she screams at me. And she'll start getting all big and fluffy, and she'll go, whack, whack, whack. And I'll say, do you want some? And her feathers will come up. And so I'll go over and I'll give her. She loves cheese. How many of you like cheese? Cheese is so nice. And then she'll eat carrots. How many of you eat carrots? She also eats macaroni and cheese. And I don't know if you know what that is. That's a noodle that you put cheese in. And boy, does she enjoy that. Sunday mornings, Uncle Bill and I have an easier day because the rest of the week is very busy. So in the morning, we go out onto the deck, a porch, and we'll have coffee. And we'll have a scone, which is like a biscuit. And one day, Uncle Bill put his coffee on the table. Now, Baby Girl is sitting with us. And when Uncle Bill left and went inside, Baby Girl quickly climbed down her perch, went quickly over to the table, climbed up on the table, and started to drink Uncle Bill's coffee. And Uncle Bill comes out and says, what the heck? What are you doing, Baby Girl? Go away from my coffee. And she just looked at him, stuck her head back in, and kept drinking. You know, we found out that Baby Girl does not think she's a bird. She thinks she's human. She doesn't really like to eat bird food. She likes human food. We also Googled, because when we first got baby girl, she would scream constantly. Every time I would leave the room, she would go, wah, wah. And every time we'd have company, she'd do the same thing. She'd make horrible noise. And we would finally had to put her in a different room. But I Googled. And you know why she does that? She feels that she's my family. She feels that she belongs to our family. And when we leave and go away, she gets scared for us. Because in the wild, their nature, if they become quiet, that means something has happened to them. Something has killed them or is hurting them. So when I will go in now and I'll say, baby girl, it's okay. Mommy's right here. You don't need to be upset. She'll calm down. Or I take her out and I take her into the room I'm at. It is the same way with us here at school today. Every single one of you, at one time or another, are going to be sad, or feel hurt, or feel lonely. And I would like to ask each of you, when you see somebody who is sad, who is not happy, go and give them a touch, give them a hug, talk to them, ask them, can I help you? Please, what is wrong? Why are you sad? And you know what? That is what Jesus is asking us to do, right? We are a family of God, but we are also a family of James School. So boys and girls, try to remember that this year, and be kind and loving and thoughtful to each other. Serve others like Jesus has asked us to.